All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining me today. Welcome back to the Regenerative Ag Network. Stuck in a hotel room, so I don't have a chalkboard, but I do have a TV. So I hooked the computer up to the TV to do the presentation. Animal unit monthlies, and so this is a business management tool more than a banking tool. It kind of does several things. It assigns us a dollar amount to our grazing based upon how we're managing that. It's not like it's cash in your pocket. It's not money in your pocket because you haven't sold anything. You just assigned a value to the grazing animals. The big thing for me is that it's a tool for record keeping and kind of build a history, so in the future you can use it as a tool to set up grazing plans. So in 5 years we'll have, if we have 5 years of history in this thing using these species mix at this seeding rate, we can see that, okay, we were able to stock this many per acre in this month, and we'll have history for each month out of the year as to how many animals we could have and how that all worked out. So it's a good business management tool more than anything. But the nice thing is it does allow us a value to put on the grazing. So when we bring in the cows behind the corn and the cover crops behind the combine, we have two things. One, we have bales that we didn't have to feed because they're grazing, and two, we can assign that number for the grazing because they are consuming, they are growing, so we get that credit there. Like I said, but that credit isn't necessarily cash in the bank. It's an assigned value, so that little tidbit will work in your farm business management financials. A banker will understand it, but yeah, you just can't borrow against it kind of money. But yeah, let's load up the TV and you guys let me know if this worked out for you or not. Animal unit monthly, it's based off of 1,000 pounds of animal. So when we get to a cow-calf pair, it's 1.2 to 1.5. An ewe-lamb pair would be a 0.2. A goat and a kid would be a 0.17. An 800-pound calf would be a 0.8. So it's pretty simple based off that 1,000 pounds. We jump down. It's also based off of 780 pounds of dry feed per month off of that parcel, whether it's an acre, whether it's 10 acres, it doesn't matter. It's based off of 780 pounds of dry feed for the month. So knowing how many animal credits, if you have 10 cow-calf pairs, you have 12 to 15 credits. So of that 15 credits, okay, I have 15 credits to account for. I know my production, and so maybe you have way more pasture than you need, so you can really have a slow moving. Your paddocks can last longer, or you can start to bale ahead of the cows, or you can move them that much faster. So you have more time in the winter potentially because you have a lot more feed material there. You have many options. If you know that you're lacking pasture, then you run this through the spreadsheet, and you're going to see that you have to move the cattle often. If you have a high stocking rate for your feed rate, you're just going to have to move the cattle that much quicker, and you might not have that much season out of that grazing. So in our scenario behind the combine, we got cover crops with the corn behind the combine. We throw the cows out there, and that gives us the $1,350 grazing credit. That's credit to go against the cost of the animals, against the cost of the cover crop, but that's dollars while the cattle are out there, because the cattle have to pay for that land, but at the same time the cattle are growing, they're still gaining value, so we come up with that grazing credit dollars. But the big thing here is the feed that we didn't feed them. This is 3,500 cash dollars in your pocket because you didn't take them to the cows, you took them to auction. The addition to this is, are we producing any nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium credits? Did they produce enough manure and urine to give us any credits? Did the cover crop recycle enough nutrients or build any nitrogen to give us any credit, how much money are we saving on a year like this? Our first couple years, are we saving money, fertilizer dollars? Probably not. 5 years from now, are we saving $200 an acre, or $50 an acre, or $300 an acre? Who knows where prices of commercial inputs are going to be? And so this is where it's the long-term gain of soil health and the whole 5 principles, bringing everything together. How we come about this is here we are. So I picture that in October, we're only going to have half the month because we're not combining October 1st, we're combining October 15th. So the cattle get the last half of the month for 100%, which gives us 50%. They graze 100% in November. They graze 60% in the December. Snow's coming in, they're starting to trample some down. Come January, there's only a little bit left, a whole bunch more snow comes in, and then there's nothing left. So that alone gave us this days. So you have 4.5 days over here, plus 15.5, that's 20 days. There's 50 days, there's 68 days that they were off of feed. 68 days at a bale a day, that's 68 bales. Times 70, you're almost $4,800, $4,900 of real money at $70. What if it's only $40? Well, that's still a couple grand in your pocket, or bales that are just stockpiled in case you have a drought year or something. You have your months across the top, the days for each month, number of animal credit units, that's where we're at, the percent off of pasture, the days of each month that they were off feed, and down here is the cost. So 30 is just an old hayfield, just a pasture, you got them out there, they're just doing what they were going to do. $60 you're rotationally grazing, and $90 you're a Gabe Brown, Greg Judy kind of deal. If it's just pure corn stover, we can put in $15 here, and you see it drops our price obviously in half, but it drops our price. So we bring that back to 30. Whoops. Bring that back to 30. So if we set this up for a typical pasture around here, let's say you got 60 animal credits. And that's the neat thing. From a management side, you can run a whole bunch of scenarios on here to come up with your best game plans. Let's say April and May, we get no grazing because frost is coming out. It's the mud season. You got a spoil area or a lot that you got them locked onto, but you get 100%. August, it's July, it's already hot and dry. August, you're already hot and dry. It's really slowing down a lot. Let's say you only have, well, typically around here by August, you're lucky to have 50%. September, you're at 40%. By October, we've had a killing frost. Nothing's been regrowing much since September. We're at 25, 15. December, we'd typically be pretty much zero around here for grazing. On a standard old grass pasture around here, that's what it would look like. So then we add this up, 4 and 30, we add all this up, and we come up with 105 days off of feed, which at 4 bales a day at $40 is going to give us $16,000, basically $17,000 in savings of feed that we didn't have to take out to the cattle. And at $70 today's price, that's almost 30 grand. That's real money. That is real money that could be in your pocket because you didn't have to feed it to the cows because they were grazing. So what if we build a pasture system? So we invest the money, we seed the pasture down, we're rotationally grazing, we're going into the fall with huge stockpiles of feed. and we're able to graze all winter. April, May, we're still not going to graze because, like we said before, it's muddy. You move them to a sacrifice area to save your pasture. Again, let's add up all these days. We add all these days up, and we end up with 213 days that were off of feed at 4 bales a day, $40 and $70 each, $34,000 and $60,000 of hay that you could have sold for additional income because you invested into your grazing. And now a business tool like this with row crops mixed in, and when we're going into the spring, if we had a large herd with 60 animals, we could be looking at that and saying, hey, it's a tough commodity year for corn and soybeans. Maybe we'd be money ahead to take one field out of row crops this year and just put it into grazing so we could sell hay, because hay this year is a very high commodity. Or you get more rotational grazing in the fall behind other crops, or you can look at it and be like, the hay this year is worth absolutely nothing. We'd be better off to feed it through the cows because the corn and bean markets are really good. So let's take some pastures out and put them back into row crop production. But you do end up with a $12,000 grazing credit over here, and the other one I think only had like a $6,000 or $7,000 grazing credit. So that's a lot of money, guys. This is business. This is real business. I guess anytime I can put $35,000 to $60,000 in my pocket to do something that might be a little bit new and scary, I will take that risk. That is real money, guys. And so let me know what you thought of the TV versus the chalkboards, and what you think of this management tool. And so, guys, on that note, I will let you go, but let me know what your experiences are on grazing, actually grazing management versus just grazing pasture. Thanks for watching, guys.